Now that's adorable. Think you run this place? On a packed Friday night, two black twin sisters, Adriana and Alicia Brooks, both in their mid 30s, were harassed, threatened, and hauled off by swaggering, drunk, off duty cops inside a neighborhood bar, jeered for their looks, treated as outsiders, grabbed hard while onlookers kept quiet. They were paraded as easy targets, women to belittle, presumed powerless. But the officers had no clue who they'd cuffed. Long before tonight, the Brooks sisters had weathered worse. Hardened by years as FBI agents, the cops thought they were breaking spirits. Instead, they lit their own fuse. The bar's chatter thinned as Adriana locked eyes with Sergeant Randall Crane, his pupils glassy, badge still clipped to his belt. Authority clung like a shadow, even off duty and drunk. Back up, she repeated, voice steady. Still seated, she straightened, refusing to fold. Crane grinned, whiskey breath hot. Or what, sweetheart? You gonna make me? His bulk loomed over their table, a moving wall. Officer Mike Sutter snorted, a mean little chuckle, then posted behind Alicia's chair, meaty hands braced on the back. We're being friendly, he said. Did they skip manners wherever you ladies crawled from? Alicia's fingers tightened around her glass. Her face stayed calm. She glanced at Luis behind the bar, polishing the same circle again, jaw locked. The youngest officer, Cody Bell, swayed on his feet. Check those curves, he slurred, miming an hourglass. You two gotta be twins. Double chocolate, right? Bull. A few patrons shifted, uncomfortable. A woman snatched her purse and slipped out. Music dimmed beneath the tension. Last warning, Adriana said, eyes never leaving Crane. Walk while you can. Crane dragged a chair with a screech, straddled it backwards, getting close. Cute! Think you're in charge here? He flicked a glance at his buddies. Ladies forgot whose town this is. Sutter's hands slid from Alicia's chair to her shoulders. She went utterly still, expression hardening. Don't touch me, she said, quiet and precise. Or what? Sutter squeezed. You gonna call the police? Their laughter spilled, ugly and loud. Luis arrived with a tray of empties like a shield. Gentlemen, maybe. Zip it, Luis, Crane snapped, not looking. Get back to dishes before I check your papers again. Color drained from Luis's face, but he stood firm. Sergeant, no trouble in my bar. Cody lurched, sloshing the sisters' drinks. Then tell these stuck-up. Pick your next word carefully, Alicia cut in, voice arctic. Oh yeah? Cody dipped to her face, inches away. Or what? Beautiful? Dressed like that in those shorts? You're basically asking for attention. Adriana's hand went toward her purse. Alicia's glance said, wait, not yet. Crane caught it and smirked. Something in there to show the class, princess? Just lipstick, Adriana said smoothly. Wrong shade for you. Sutter's grip tightened. Your problem? No respect for authority. We can fix that, right, boys? A guy at a corner table lifted his phone, filming discreetly. Cody started toward him, but Crane's whistle froze him. Later, Crane said. Humor gone, he leaned in. Here's how this goes. You apologize, buy us around, and if you ask real nice, maybe we forget the disrespect. Adriana sipped slow, set her glass down, and drew a line. Here's what actually happens. Hands off my sister. Step back, leave us alone. Right now you're making a serious mistake. Sounded like a threat, Crane said, voice lowered. Mike? Cody? Heard a threat, Cody chimed. Definitely, Sutter agreed, fingers digging. Might need to take you downtown. Teach manners. The sisters shared a look, years of silent language in a heartbeat. Tension stretched like brittle wire. The officers closed in, tight circle around the table. Crane's eyes roamed, hungry, lingering on their legs. Would you look at that? He drawled to Cody. Twins even match outfits. Alicia's jaw flexed neutral mask. Those hips, though, Cody leered, rolling his own in a crude sway. Sutter's breath fanned Adriana's neck. What do you say? Show us a dance? You're dressed for it. Remaining patrons looked everywhere but here. Luis vanished behind the bar, probably dialing help. The sisters knew better than to expect backup. Back up, Adriana warned again, voice carrying. You're drunk and embarrassing yourselves. Crane's face hardened. Embarrassing? You saunter in dressed like that and we're the fools? Clothes aren't an invitation, Alicia said, steel under calm. Your badge isn't a license to harass. Crane laughed, harsh and hollow. Harass? Honey, if you didn't want attention. He moved behind Alicia with surprising speed and slapped her backside. The crack echoed like a shot. Laughter followed as Alicia shot upright, fury scorching her cheeks. You son of a. Adriana lunged, but Sutter slammed her to the wall, forearm pinning hard. What's wrong? Crane taunted, crowding Alicia. Can't take a compliment from an officer? He reached again. She knocked his hand away. Touch me again, Alicia said, voice trembling with rage, and you'll lose a hand. Cody giggled, flourishing cuffs. Ooh, a threat against an officer. Phones lowered, heads ducked. A middle-aged couple hustled out. No one wanted to be next. Someone's hostile, Sutter said, pressing harder on Adriana. Maybe we take this someplace private. Teach respect. Adriana's training screamed fight. Protect your sister. But she held, knowing one wrong move could spiral. Crane loomed, breath sour with whiskey and spite. Let me spell it out, he growled. This is my town. A jab to Alicia's chest. My streets. Another jab. My rules. Cody jingled the cuffs, delighted. Rule 1, you don't mouth off to cops. Sutter's free hand stroked Adriana's hair. She jerked away. His fingers snagged painfully in her curls. Crane paced Alicia like a circling shark. Could have been a good time. A little southern hospitality. He snatched her wrist when she tried to step away. But now, you hurt our feelings. Louise hovered at the edge, pale but steady. Sergeant Crane, please. They're customers. One more word and ice visits. Louise's mouth snapped shut, fists balled. Crane twisted Alicia's wrist until she gasped. Now you learn what happens when you disrespect officers in my town. Cody stepped in, giddy. Want me to do the honors, Sarge? Ladies first, Crane said, hauling Alicia close, lips nearly at her ear. Don't talk back. Cody yanked her arms cruelly behind, snapping the cuffs tight. Too tight. The metal bit deep. Her breath hitched. Not so mighty now, huh? He sneered, forcing her down. Knees hit sticky floor. Spilled beer and old grime flooded her nose. Sutter pinned Adriana, cheek grinding against rough wood, splinters biting. Crane hummed, circling like a vulture. All that sass, all that thickness, means nothing in cuffs. His eyes crawled over them, shorts riding up from rough handling. Should have played nice. Alicia's shoulders burned. At the angle Cody wrenched her arms. Eyes either stared or pointedly looked away. Humiliation seethed hotter than pain. Please, Louise said, voice cracking, hands raised. They did nothing wrong. Let me call a cab. Crane closed on him in 2 strides, fisting his collar. One more word, and I shut this place down. Health codes, raids. How many undocumented in that kitchen, Luis? How many fake papers? Luis went ashen, trembling. Alicia saw him slip his phone deeper into his apron, recording light glowing. That's what I thought, Crane sneered, turning back. A woman lifted her phone. Cody lunged, snatching it. No cameras! He smashed it to the floor. Glass skittered. She shrank back, terrified. Sutter patted Adriana down, lingering offensively. Gotta make sure they're not hiding anything dangerous. His hands roved hips and waist. Adriana jerked. He shoved harder. Stay still unless you want resisting added. Charges, Alicia demanded from her knees. For what? Crane crouched, thumb brushing her lip. Disorderly, disturbing the peace, threatening officers, maybe assault. Depends how cooperative you are. Get them up, Crane ordered. Time for a ride. Sutter hauled Adriana off the wall. Cody jerked Alicia to her feet. Patrons parted like water, eyes averted, silence heavy. Only footsteps and the jingle of duty belts sounded. Shame, Crane said, holding the door. Could have been fun. He reached for Alicia's hair. She recoiled. Humid night slapped them. Fluorescence carved hard shadows across cracked asphalt. A patrol car idled nearby, too convenient to be spontaneous. Sutter shoved Adriana so she stumbled, catching herself, shoulders screaming against steel. Careful, sweetheart, he mocked. Don't add falling down drunk to your list. Faces watched through glass, worried, curious, unwilling. Luis stood in the doorway, apron pocket lens still blinking, his face tight with anger and fear. As they were marched toward the cruiser, Alicia burned with humiliation, every step an insult, every guiding touch a violation. Her FBI instincts begged to fight. Tactical mind said, wait. They don't know us, Adriana whispered. Engineered humiliation thrummed through Alicia's veins as Cody wrenched her shoulders. Please, Lewis tried again, voice shaking. They haven't done anything. Crane whirled, slammed him against the bar. Say health inspection with me. He leaned close, venom low. How many unauthorized workers, Luis? Fear flickered. The phone kept recording. That's what I thought. A nearby woman raised her phone. Cody snatched it and spiked it to the hardwood. The screen burst, shards skittering. She shrank, silent. Sutter's free hand resumed a pat down, fingers lingering where they had no business. Adriana jerked. He growled. Resist, and we stack charges. Charges? Alicia snapped. For what? Crane crouched so close she felt his breath. Disorderly, disturbing, threatening, maybe assault. Cody hauled her arms higher. Pain flared. Up, Crane said. Ride's waiting. The crowd split, creating a quiet aisle. No one met their eyes. Only the belts rattled and shoes squeaked. Outside, humidity clung. Security lights washed the lot in harsh glare. A cruiser waited like a stage prop. Sutter shoved Adriana, almost toppling her. Easy, he mocked. Wouldn't want you to trip. Faces hovered in the windows, concerned, curious, inert. Luis, still filming, watched from the door, rage tightly leashed. They neared the car. Alicia's humiliation flamed hotter than pain. Every step scraped pride raw. Cody's hands guided with little shoves, savoring control. Training screamed to fight. Calculation said not yet. Inside, Adriana's voice thinned to a promise through clenched teeth. They have no idea who they're provoking. At the threshold, Alicia's cuffed hands worked behind her, straining. Cody's attention was on pushing, not watching. Two fingers slipped into her back pocket, her badge case pressed against denim. Slick with sweat, hard to grip. Millimeter by millimeter, she teased it free, heart pounding, shoulders burning beneath Cody's impatient yanks. At last, the leather slid loose. With a controlled flick, she let it drop. The heavy thud cut through the bar's hush. The gold shield caught dim light. The seal was unmistakable. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Alicia announced, voice steady, despite a fresh bruise blooming where Cody's fingers had dug earlier. Heads turned. Phones reappeared like prairie dogs. Adriana shrugged off Sutter's loosened grip, stood tall despite bound wrists. You're assaulting federal agents, she said, words crisp enough to chip glass. Crane stared at the badge, drunken mind grinding. Then he barked out a laugh, forced loud, more threat than humor. Cute, he said, towing the case, kicking it skittering. Think that shiny card matters here? His tone dropped to a growl. My town, my rules. He nodded. Cody ratcheted Alicia's cuffs tighter. Metal bit. A hiss escaped before she could bury it. Should have kept that pretty mouth shut, Cody breathed. The room's air thickened with fear. Unlocked chimes, camera taps, whispered oaths rose like insects. Crane's head snapped toward the sound. Anyone takes a picture, he announced, palm resting on his holster. Comes downtown, too. Interfering with police business. Luis moved slowly, deliberately non-threatening, whispering to a regular, remember everything you saw tonight. Sutter clamped Adriana's arm again, hard enough to bruise. Let's go, FBI, he mocked, making it dirty. You can complain from a cell. They were pushed into the night. Security lights carved hard angles. The cruiser's door yawned. Crane strolled behind, boot scuffs loud. Know what happens to cops in jail? He mused. Same thing's waiting for you, Fed Trash. Worse. Cody shoved Alicia into the back seat without guarding her head. Pain cracked along her temple. Adriana tumbled in after. They pressed together in cramped plastic. The door slammed with a final thunk. Through the window, Louise stood frozen, phone still recording. Crane leaned into the driver's window. Take the long way, he told the uniform behind the wheel. Give our federal friends that local hospitality. Engine growled. Streetlights strobed their faces. The front laughed, the partition muffling little. They just declared war, Adriana whispered, promise coiled tight behind clenched teeth. The station's fluorescents buzzed like hornets, carving sickly shadows along scuffed linoleum. Crane and Cody shoved them down the hall. Welcome home, Crane breathed against Adriana's neck, fingers grinding into her arm as they neared the cells. Booking sat nearly empty. A desk sergeant barely looked up from his crossword, pen tapping lazy squares. The wall clock read 11:47 p.m., second hand ticking like a metronome. Cody fumbled keys, still sloppy from booze. Ladies first, he sang, swinging a door that shrieked. Alicia stumbled as Crane pushed. Her shoulder hit cinder block. He slammed the door without removing cuffs. Phone call, she demanded, rage banked but bright. Rights? Crane smiled without warmth. This isn't your marble-floored bureau. He tipped his chin. Put the other one in. Adriana planted her feet. This detention's illegal. You're compounding crimes. Cody's shove sent her sprawling across the second cell's floor. Shut it, he snapped, slamming the door. Or get something real to cry about. They stared through the bars, cell to cell. Alicia's face a mask of control, Adriana's eyes lit with banked fire. They'd survived worse, but this felt personal, riskier. Crane settled at the desk, dragging out incident forms like props. Let's see what to charge, he mused, pen scratching lies onto official paper. Resisting? Sure. Assaulting an officer? He winked at Cody. Didn't she swing at you? Absolutely, Cody said brightly. Total maniac. That's a lie, Adriana snapped, gripping bars. There are witnesses. Witnesses? Cody laughed, perching at the desk. Ain't nobody saw anything. Right, Sarge? Crane nodded, still writing. Disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct, threatening an officer, he recited like a menu, piling fiction high. Dress shoes clicked from the doorway. Chief Warren Hale appeared, silver hair just so despite the hour. The air cooled around his presence. Evening, he said, voice calm, somehow more dangerous than Crane's bluster. I hear we've got federal agents causing trouble. He plucked the sheets from Crane, scanning with bored interest, a smile tugging his mouth. My, quite a list. Alicia stepped forward. Chief Hale, your officers assaulted us without cause, falsely arrested us, and are fabricating charges. We demand. You demand nothing, Hale said pleasantly. Well, interesting, he went on, strolling between cells, hands clasped. Outsiders drift through thinking titles travel. They say, investigate. He stopped at Adriana's bars, studying her like an exhibit. Bad things happen to people who push in my town. Paperwork vanishes. Charges multiply. Even bureau shields don't stop tides. You won't intimidate us, Adriana said, voice low and edged. We've dealt with dirty cops before. Hale chuckled without humor. Corrupt is ugly. I prefer order, my order. He smoothed his tie. Two options. Take disorderly, sleep it off, leave tomorrow tails tucked, or he left the second path dangling like a noose. Or what? Alicia challenged. Disappear us? Add us to the pile? Hale's brows lifted in mock surprise. Pile? I don't see victims. Just two drunk women who attacked my men and now face consequences. He handed the forms back. Process them. By the book, he smiled. Our book. Then he left, temperature dropping further. Crane and Cody resumed scribbling, emboldened. Pens scratched while they invented details. Adriana gripped the bars, whispering so only Alicia could hear. This isn't about us. It's how many they've buried. Hours crawled. The clock ticked 2:13 a.m. Adriana paced, 6 steps forward, 6 back, bare feet cold against concrete. Shoes, phones, jewelry, standard procedure, confiscated. Nothing here was standard. Alicia sat straight on the bunk, eyes on the hall. Words were few, minds racing, cataloging faces and slips. Soft steps approached. A young officer appeared with 2 paper sacks and water cups. Jenny Morales, the hesitant shadow from booking. Dinner, she announced loud enough for any ears. Sandwich and chips. Her hand brushed Adriana's, slipping a folded note. She moved to Alicia's cell, keeping up the routine. Fountains busted. Make do with cups. Then a whisper, barely air. They do this monthly, usually to black women passing through. After Morales left, they ate in silence, planning. Adriana waited for the shift chatter to swell, then unfolded the note under her blanket. A phone number in neat script, followed by emergency FBI contact, Deputy Director Marcus Chen. They've done this before, Alicia murmured. Multiple victims. Multiple witnesses, Adriana corrected. She tore paper into a strip, memorized the digits, then chewed and swallowed the note. We just need to survive the night. The sandwich was stale. Chips staler. They ate everything. Fuel matters. Through the high window, the moon watched. Around 3, a drunk was dragged in, loud protests echoing down the corridor. Crane and Cody roughed him up unnecessarily and tossed him into a far cell. They paused to leer. How are our FBI superstars? Crane rapped his baton. Not feeling so tough? Adriana kept her gaze down, shoulders slumped. Alicia curled toward the wall. Cody laughed. Look at that. Attitude's gone. Learning their place. About time, Crane agreed. Chief was right. They ain't special. Footsteps receded. A door snicked. The sisters held their poses until silence settled. They're getting sloppy, Alicia whispered. Overconfident, Adriana breathed. See the corner camera? For show, red lights off. No system, Alicia said. They don't keep evidence. Works both ways, Adriana murmured. They can't prove what we do either. The night stretched, punctuated by the sergeant's smug rounds. They performed exhaustion, heads down, shoulders heavy, occasional sniffles. Near 4, Crane and Cody returned from another arrest, voices bourbon loud. Just like the Thompson girl, Cody bragged. These two think badges saved them. No one's badge means anything here, Crane said, laughing. Chief's got judges in his pocket to the county line. The sisters traded a look. This wasn't mere swagger. This was a structure, a machine. As dawn crept, the station stirred. Doors, phones, voices rising like a tide. They think we're broken, Alicia whispered through bars. Let's use that. First light painted pale squares on concrete. They breathed slow, eyes nearly closed, senses wide open. Heavy steps, clinking bottles. Crane's voice floated. Needed this after dealing with stuck-up feds. Hell yeah, Cody said, chair groaning. Bourbon fixes everything. Sutter's voice joined, a little slurred. Remember that Oak Street family? The mother crying when we found pills in her kid's room? Adriana kept her breath even, heartbeat steady, the micro mic sewn into her bra strap. Standard kit they'd missed, caught every word. She shifted subtly, angling for clearer audio without breaking the pose. Classic, Crane chuckled. Ice clinked. Kids swore up and down they weren't his. Who believes a black teen over 3 officers? 5 years minimum, Cody boasted. Another off the street. Chief says we're doing God's work, Sutter said. Told the mayor that at last month's fundraiser. Names, times, details clicked into place. Speaking of cleanup, Crane said, chair scraping. Remember the Williams place? 3 generations in that maple house? Until we got creative with seizure, Cody laughed. Now it's a cute coffee bar. Developer sure was grateful, Sutter added. Envelope for the chief wasn't thin. Bourbon loosened tongues. Poison stories poured. Falsified reports, planted weapons, computer errors, erasing evidence. Each confession another nail, captured clean. Adriana's anger smoldered. Their scheme wasn't petty. It targeted black families, futures, entire neighborhoods. That teacher, Cody blurted louder, filed a complaint about us roughing her student. So smooth, Crane replied. Little bag of coke in her desk. Credibility gone. License revoked, Sutter said harshly. Chief called it preventive maintenance. Can't let folks think they can challenge us. In the polished toilet's reflection, Alicia watched their silhouettes, badges gleaming, bourbon glasses half hidden. She logged gestures and roles, Crane leading, Cody eager, Sutter cool reinforcement. The machine's cogs were visible now. Remember that grandmother last month, Cody said, kept filing complaints? Grandson's doing 15, Crane said, satisfied. Amazing what an unregistered gun can accomplish. She shut up quick, Sutter added. They swapped which judge to call, which locker camera didn't work, which sergeant lost forms. A door opened. Bottles scraped hurriedly away. Shifts soon, Crane muttered. Clear it. What about them? Cody nodded at the cells. Learned their lesson? Oh, yeah, Crane said, smug. Look, out cold. By morning, they'll beg to plead out and run, like the rest. Their steps retreated. The station stirred. Phones, hinges, early chatter, swelling outside booking. When all quieted, Adriana opened her eyes, met Alicia's. Did you get it all? Alicia's almost imperceptible nod answered. Hours of confessions, names, dates, specific crimes, enough to pry the roof off the department. One mistake, and the audio would vanish the way these men made evidence disappear. They needed it out. They waited as the station woke fully. Murmurs, footsteps, coffee machines hissing. Adriana whispered, barely breath. We've got them. Alicia's eyes answered. Right moment. Not yet. The corridor filled, then emptied in waves. Opportunity would come, brief and dangerous. Patience was a blade, kept sharp, pulled only once. Minutes dragged like years. The clock slid past 2. Adriana paced, 6 and 6, counting cracks, mapping hinges and screws. Alicia catalogued faces, tells, rhythms. The routine of institutional cruelty revealed its seams, shift overlaps, blind corners, habits. Their bodies feigned defeat, but their minds sketched angles, contingencies, exits, contingencies again, soft steps. Morales again, 2 paper cups and bland oatmeal on trays. She waited for chatter to pass, then approached. Eat quick, she whispered. I can get you to a phone, but timing has to be perfect. Adriana studied her shaking hands. Risk lived there. Sincerity, too. Not a trap, an opening. Why help? Alicia asked softly, spoon stirring to mask words. Morales glanced down the hall. Because I see what they do, I'm done helping it happen. She sketched the plan, the ancient landline in the file room, shift change 10-minute gap, the blind spot behind dented cabinets. I'll make a mess, she promised. 5 minutes. They weighed it in a heartbeat. The recording burned like contraband. Without extraction, it might never surface. They needed eyes higher up, power enough to shield it. At shift change, clatter erupted. Shouts about spilled coffee, cursed forms, furious mopping. Keys jingled like sleigh bells. Now, Morales hissed, unlocking both cells. She led them down the rear corridor, steps precise. The file room smelled of dust and old toner. A quivering landline crouched behind gray cabinets. Morales took the door, shoulders squared to block views. Hurry! Adriana dialed Supervisor Keene's direct line. Steady, fair, had promoted them despite resistance. If he would move mountains. 3 rings. Keene. Sir, Agent Adriana Brooks, she whispered, curled around the receiver. We need help. We're being held. We have taped evidence. Brooks? His tone shifted, strange. Where are you calling from? Local station, sir. We've captured hours of... Stop, Keene said, voice suddenly glacial. Not another word. Something in it hollowed her stomach. Alicia leaned close to hear. Sir? I've already heard from Chief Hale, Keene said, voice flat as paper. He says you caused a scene, assaulted officers, resisted arrest. That's false, Adriana said. We have proof. Listen carefully, Keene said. Whatever you think you have, forget it. Keene's pause felt surgical, cutting the breath from Adriana's lungs. Alicia leaned closer, listening. Sir, we have recordings, hours of confessions, names, dates. Keene exhaled like a slammed door. You're not hearing me. Drop it. A faint rustle, distant voices. This doesn't end well if you keep talking. Hang up. Adriana's knuckles whitened around the receiver. With respect, sir, we're in custody under false pretenses. Officers assaulted us, fabricated charges, obstructed witnesses. Keene's voice cooled further. Chief Hale runs that jurisdiction. The mayor's office vouched. You're creating a political mess. Do not escalate. I can't shield you from consequences. Alicia's eyes flashed. Sir, you promoted us for following facts. We followed them. Keene hesitated, then dropped his voice. You think the Bureau is immune? These people have friends, judges, donors. If you bring me anything, it must be airtight, untouchable. He paused. Right now, you have exposure, not leverage. Adriana's jaw tightened. We do have leverage. Recorded confessions implicating multiple officers, plus a pattern of discriminatory arrests, will transmit immediately. Keene's reply came sharp. Don't transmit from there. The second you push data, it gets intercepted or erased. You just paint a target. Walk out alive first, then we talk. Boots thudded outside the file room. Morales stiffened at the door. Alicia whispered, Sir, do you authorize extraction? Keene's tone turned bureaucratic steel. Negative! Stand down and comply. Plead out the disorderly. Leave that town. That's the order. Silence hung. I'll document your refusal. He ended the call, line going dead. Adriana stared at the handset, betrayal ringing louder than the dial tone. Morales hissed, Time's up. She swept them back toward the corridor, locking the cells with a practiced clack as voices neared. The women resumed their slumped poses. Morales's fingertips brushed the bars, tiny, defiant pressure. Then she disappeared into noise. Crane sauntered in, pockets bulging, eyes bright. Sleep well, agents? His grin showed teeth. Cody yawned theatrically. Booking says morning docket's packed. Lots of disorderly. Sutter thumbed through forms. Magistrate loves tidy narratives. Adriana kept her gaze down, counting breaths. Alicia tracked the rhythm of keys, the angle of cameras. The desk sergeant shuffled toward the printer, muttering. A fax machine whined alive, spitting a sheet with the city seal. Crane snatched it, skimmed, then smirked toward the cells. Look at that. DA's office recommends no leniency for assaulting officers. He tapped the glass, savoring panic he assumed would bloom. It didn't. Adriana lifted her head, empty-eyed. File whatever lies you like. Crane's smile thinned. Bravado's cute. He leaned in. You called your boss, didn't you? Alicia blinked, slow. Why would we? Crane laughed. Because I spoke to him first. He wagged the fax. Old friends. The word leverage crawled off the page. The hall brightened with day shift chatter. An older officer exchanged a look with Crane, then dropped a brown envelope on the desk. For Hale. Crane tucked it away, nodding. Chain stays clean. Adriana memorized the timestamp printed faintly on the envelope's flap, the courier logo, the initials, BR, a developer's firm. Cody unlocked Alicia's cell, yanking her up. Arraignment later, maybe. Sutter did the same with Adriana. First, a friendly chat. Crane gestured toward a side interview room with a mirrored pane and a dead camera. Let's review your statements. He opened the door with a flourish. Be honest, he said. It's healthier. The room smelled like old coffee and old lies. Chairs scraped. Crane spread the forms. Say you mouthed off. Say you were drunk. Sign and you're out by noon. No more talk of assault, harassment, or corruption. You go home. Never come back. He slid pens across the table, casual as a card trick. Alicia glanced at the mirror, then at Adriana. We're federal agents, she said evenly. We'll provide sworn statements after counsel. Crane clicked his tongue. Counsel? You're barely detainees. Besides, you already called your bureau daddy. He leaned close, breath sour. He said you're impulsive, emotional, unreliable. Told me to process you thoroughly. Heat flared under Alicia's skin, but her voice stayed cool. He also said airtight and untouchable. Crane blinked. Cute phrase. Adriana's smile was small, dangerous. We like cute. She folded her hands. Our account will be precise, time-stamped, corroborated, and archived beyond your reach. Crane's eyes narrowed, calculating angles he couldn't see. He slapped the table. Enough. Sutter's hand drifted near his baton. Cody's grin curdled. Crane scooped the unsigned forms and stood. Have it your way. Stack the charges. He paused at the door. You'll wish you'd signed? The latch clicked. Silence pooled. Adriana exhaled once, then twice, measuring the room's edges. Mic level, Alicia whispered, barely shaping sound. Adriana tilted her shoulder toward the mirror. Signal good. Their words rode the ambient hum, indistinguishable from HVAC to untrained ears. Alicia traced a fingertip under the table's lip until it found rough gum. A notch, someone else's message, or just the grime of routine intimidation. We need the recording out, Alicia breathed. Pickup or dead drop. Adriana nodded toward the vent grid, the narrow gap above the mirrored glass, the ceiling tile misaligned by a nail's thickness. We make a custodial mistake, she said. Force a restroom run. Stash the mic's payload where Morales can sweep. A knock. Morales slid in with a clipboard, eyes neutral. Medical check, she said flatly. Cody waved her off. They're fine. She pivoted anyway, authority clipped. Policy. Gloved, she checked wrists, noted abrasion, took pulse counts. One needs the restroom, she said finally, tapping Adriana's inflammation with bureaucratic calm. Now, Cody huffed, then unlocked Adriana's cuff from the chair and latched it to his wrist with a short chain. No tricks, Morales led. In the restroom, harsh light buzzed. Morales ran water, loud. 2 minutes, she said, voice monotone. Adriana leaned toward the sink, twisting slightly, shoulders angling the transmitter beneath the blouse seam. The mic's clip came away with a practiced tremor. Adriana wedged the pea-sized memory capsule into the paper towel dispenser's underside. In the gap, where a missing screw left a perfect pocket. Morales coughed once, agreement, then rattled the stall door for any listeners. Hurry up, she said, bored, as water hammered porcelain. Back in the hall, Crane stood with Hale, who'd arrived noiselessly. Hale's smile was an accountant's, straight, cool, uninterested in drama. Interview productive? He asked mildly. They declined, Crane said. Hale tisked. Stubbornness is so expensive. His gaze swept Adriana's wrist, Alicia's cheek, noting marks, then dismissed them like smudges on glass. Arraignment in 2 hours, Hale said. Until then, quiet time. He gave a slight nod. The desk sergeant produced property forms that conspicuously omitted the sisters' phones. Alicia's eyes snagged on a box label, Evide Locker C, camera out. She filed it beside BR, Maple Street, and the fundraiser's date. Returned to their cells, the sisters resumed the choreography of defeat. Voices in booking rolled like surf. Somewhere, a copier jam beeped angrily. Morales drifted past once, empty-handed, then again with a sealed trash liner. Her jaw was set. The bag was heavier than trash. The dispenser screw still missing from maintenance logs. Crane reappeared, temper glossy. New charge, he announced cheerfully. Tampering. He dangled a plastic bag containing Alicia's broken necklace, snapped earlier by Sutter. Evidence you assaulted an officer. Alicia's laugh was gentle and lethal. Chain broke when your man slammed me. Enjoy swearing to that under oath. Crane's smile thinned again. Hale returned, crisp as a ledger line. You have choices, he said conversationally. Plead to disorderly and leave, or we discover drugs in your belongings, a weapon under your seat, maybe threats to Luis's license. Adriana cocked her head. Funny, threats get sloppy when recorded. Hale's pupils pinpricked. Recorded where? He waited. Adriana yawned like a cat. In your imagination, Chief. Hale studied her, then smoothed his cuff. Arraignment, then. He walked away without looking back. Crane followed, muttering, They're bluffing. Sutter's shrug said otherwise. Alicia looked at Adriana and counted 10 heartbeats. Their old signal. Hold, wait, let arrogance ripen. The courthouse van arrived with a squeal. 2 public defenders trudged in, harried, overburdened. A bailiff's call crackled on the radio. Hale signed something brisk. Morales ghosted through the periphery, the sealed liner now gone. A minute later, she reappeared with a labeled evidence envelope that did not exist on any manifest. She didn't look at the cells. She didn't slow down. But as she passed, she tapped her thigh twice, an old field signal she'd only seen in training videos, and vanished into the administrative wing. Alicia's exhale barely stirred dust. The recording was out of the building's gravitational pull. Not safe, but freer. Chains clinked as Cody shackled ankles for transport. Ready for your big day? He sang. Adriana lifted her wrists. We prefer mornings when judges are sober. Cody smirked. Lucky you, it's campaign season. The van door yawned like a mouth. Outside, humidity blurred edges. A storm stacked itself on the horizon, purple and impatient. In the van's cage, Alicia leaned close. Keen won't help, but he listened. Adriana nodded. He said airtight. He also said hang up. Both can be true. Through the grate, Crane joked with the driver. Hale's sedan idled nearby, tinted windows reflecting the courthouse steps, flags snapping, cameras already nesting like crows. At the sally port, a reporter's boom mic peeped over the barricade. Hale stepped out smooth as marble, smiling for whoever needed the picture. Adriana swallowed fury. Alicia murmured, We changed the venue. Their choice. The van jerked forward. Doors would open. Lights would find them. They would look broken until they didn't. The cage shuddered to a stop. The driver killed the engine. Crane rapped twice on the partition and leaned back. Voice honeyed through the grate. One last chance, he said. Say, I'm sorry, officer. Sign the paper and go. Alicia met Adriana's eyes. Then the memory of Keen's last words returned. I'm trying to help you. His tone oozed self-preservation, slick as oil. Some fights aren't worth it. Take the hint and walk. A beat. That's an order, Agent Brooks. The line died. Morales filled the doorway, urgency tight across her face. They're coming. Move now. They slipped back into cells just before heavy boots thundered in. Sergeant Randall Crane's bulk swallowed the corridor, a cruel grin splitting his face. He waved a phone, screen bright with a text. Well, well, he drawled. Your FBI pal just rang. Says you two are problem agents, always stirring trouble. We'll handle it local. Alicia hit the bars hard, metal sang. Watch the mouth, Crane tutted, wagging a finger. Is that how you address lawmen? After your own boss confirms your headaches? Adriana stood very still, fury cooled into a razor. They'd believed in Keen, trusted that badge. His sellout didn't just cut personal, it gutted the oath they'd lived by. What's wrong? Crane taunted, swaggering closer. Realizing no cavalry's coming? You're alone here. No backup, no mercy, just us teaching manners. He sauntered to Alicia's bars, basking in her anger. Your boss sends regards, he added. Says take our time. Make the lesson stick. Alicia's knuckles bled. She didn't notice. It was Adriana's answer that chilled the air. No scream, no threat, just 4 even words. Then we burn it all. The promise wasn't desperation. It was intent, precise, fearless. Crane's smirk wobbled, then snapped back. He forced a laugh and strolled off. The sister's eyes followed, flat and unblinking. Allies gone. Faith in the institution cauterized. Options narrowed to one. Dismantle the machine, whatever it cost. Hours later, Morales slid back, hands pretending at restraints. Message, she whispered. Luis, the bartender, Has something. Adriana leaned in. What? Hidden cameras, Morales breathed. He caught everything. Needs help exfiltrating files. Hope struck fire in Alicia's gaze. Can you connect us? Morales nodded. I know a reporter, Maya Green. Been trying to expose this for years. No one would talk. Next afternoon, Maya arrived under the pretense of a hostile interview. Guards smirked, ushering her in, assuming another hit piece on problem agents. Sharp featured, relentless early 40s, Maya set a recorder with practiced efficiency, then leaned like adjusting levels. Luis contacted me, she murmured. I've seen part of it, but there's more. Much more. She scribbled on a legal pad as if noting quotes, but the message was different. Meeting tonight. Judge Wilkes's home. Clarence Wilkes? Adriana breathed. Retired circuit judge? Maya's small nod. He's tracked corruption for decades, waiting for someone fearless enough to light it. Her pen kept moving. Luis brings footage. I bring files, scanner frecs, badge rosters, bank trails. Alicia mouthed toward the door. How? Maya wrote, Morales synchronizing. The interview continued, pointed questions and careful non answers. Underneath, a timeline hardened like steel. That evening, shift change came. Morales scheduled camera maintenance in the block. The sisters were split into questioning rooms with windows to the lot. Minutes later, they were under blankets in Maya's sedan, rolling through the gate. The sentry barely scanned her press badge. Judge Wilkes's place, modest, oak-sheltered, glowed warm. He answered himself, tall, 60-something, eyes tempered by decades of hard truths. Come in, he said simply. We've work. Luis was already at the dining table, laptop open, jaw tight. I got it all, he said, voice held on reins. Not just that night, years, Luis went on. Boasts about planting evidence, beatings, shakedowns. Wilkes's nod was grave. And I've the case skeletons, sudden evidence discoveries, witnesses who reconsidered after officer visits, a mapped pattern targeting minorities. Maya spread ledgers, offshore accounts, shell properties, donors turned bagmen. And now, a bureau tie, Adriana added, thinking of Keene's call. They worked through midnight, mapping wireframes, cross-referencing arrest clusters with forfeiture wins, overlaying patrol patterns with complaint spikes. Luis's clips gave faces and dates. Wilkes's records traced procedural rot. Maya's spreadsheet stitched motive and money. Alicia traced a finger along arrest logs. Every whistle threatens them. Days later, they're picked up. Then jobs evaporate. Families harassed. Mortgages fail. Wilkes's voice was heavy. Not mere rot. Design. Maya met his gaze. Machines can be broken. Luis nodded. People will talk now. They needed to see hope in motion. Dawn blued the curtains. Phone buzzes multiplied. More victims. More witnesses. We're fighting for everyone, Alicia said softly, window framing a thin sunrise. In the lot, Maya's heels clacked toward her car, briefcase heavy with backups. She never saw the van until doors flew open, three masked men rushing her. She swung the case, solid connect, but numbers overwhelmed. Fists thudded. Should have stayed out, one snarled, stamping her laptop and phone. They fled with the briefcase, leaving her crumpled on asphalt. 20 minutes later, a passing driver dialed 911. ER lights painted ceilings, ribs cracked, arm broken, face swollen, but alive. Across town, Luis smelled smoke. Back room already hissed with gasoline, fire licking up stocked walls. He lunged for the office, backup drives, but heat shoved him back. Smoke clawed his lungs. Rafters groaned. He stumbled into the street, coughing, as his livelihood and years of proof collapsed into sparks. A patrol cruiser idled across the way. Crane watched from shadowed glass, satisfaction curling his mouth. Back at the station, Morales whispered through bars, stunned, pale. Maya's in ICU. Luis's bar, gone. They're saying you ordered it from here. Adriana's hands nodded. We've been locked up. They've witnesses, Morales said. Claim they heard you plan it. More lies, Alicia muttered. Chief Warren Hale appeared, baton tapping steel. Busy evening, he purred. Tragic about your friends. People should mind their lanes. He slid new charges through: conspiracy, arson, attempted murder. Transfer to Max tomorrow, he said. Can't risk such dangerous detainees here. Adriana scanned the paperwork. Elaborate fiction stacked on forged phone logs and imaginary wires. Look, she told Alicia. Timestamps off. They rushed it, got sloppy. Alicia's mouth thinned. Won't matter. They own the gears. A tray arrived. Cold bologna and weak coffee, untouched. Maya knew the money map, Alicia whispered. Luis had faces. Boots clomped past. Cody and Sutter theatrical with keys. Sleep tight, Crane called. Long day tomorrow. When the corridor cleared, Alicia asked, Wilkes? Adriana exhaled. Morales says a break-in. Records gone. Alicia nodded. They're thorough. Silence settled. Distant sobs. Jingling keys. We knew backlash, Alicia murmured. This, Adriana said, lifting charges, is panic. A roach scuttled the grout seam. Maya will heal. Luis will rebuild, Alicia said. We're not done. Neither are they, Adriana answered. This is how far they'll go. Through the slit window, early stars winked, fingers threaded between bars, a childhood grip. They're desperate, Adriana said. Means we're close. Their joined hands steadied the room. Hours later, keys rattled them awake. 3 silhouettes, Crane, Sutter, Cody, wore cruel anticipation. Rise and shine, FBI, Crane sneered, swinging open. Field trip. Sutter jerked Adriana upright. Cody did the same to Alicia. Breath exchanged between sisters. Observe. Endure. Wait for the hinge. Destination? Alicia asked as Cody shoved. Crane laughed. Concrete bounced it back. Someplace quiet. Corridors yawned empty. Night sergeant vanished. Logs destined for edits. Outside, summer air pressed close. A white van idled under dead lamps. They were shoved into oil-smelling dark. No seats, no windows. Sutter clambered in. Crane drove. Cody rode shotgun. The van rattled off. Know your flaw? Crane called. Thought shiny badges made you untouchable. Came to my town to stir muck. Your playground, Adriana shot back. Where you hurt, who you want. Sutter's backhand cracked her cheek. Touch her again, Alicia growled. Cody twisted to grin. We own this county. Judges, donors, your supervisor. Gravel deepened. Branches scraped metal. Through the windshield slit, trees pressed in, leaves black against a moon-smeared sky. No one knows, Crane sang. By morning, 2 more missing persons. Swamp keeps secrets. Back to back, the sisters shared pressure of shoulders, code for synchronized breath. 20 minutes of washboard road, then the van braked hard. Rotting water stung the air. An abandoned warehouse hunched ahead, broken windows like dead eyes. Home sweet home, Crane said, shoving them toward the door. Gators do tidy work. Inside, lattice-work moonlight, striped, cracked concrete. Rusted machines slept in corners. Rats skittered from flashlight cones. Perfect, Cody said. Nobody to hear. Crane circled, savoring. What I enjoy, putting arrogant scum in place, especially ones who think dark skin plus a badge means special. This is about control, Adriana said evenly. You can't stand black women with authority. It's about order, Crane snarled. Natural order. Alicia laughed, harsh and bright. Natural? You mean white men with badges skating past consequences? Cody kicked her legs. She dropped, rising into Sutter's boot. Crane drew his service pistol. Since the bar, I've wanted this, he hissed, fisting Adriana's hair, barrel kissing her temple. Any last words, Agent? Adriana's stare never wavered. Alicia coiled. Metal bit skin. Crane's finger tightened. Then Adriana laughed, sharp as glass. What's wrong, Randy? Need steel to feel big? His hand quivered, booze and rage slipping. Shut up. Shoot an unarmed woman? That your manhood? Alicia worried a hidden hairpin free. Sutter's attention drifted. Think you can talk out of this? Crane growled, pressing harder. No, Adriana said, tone surgical. I think you're a coward. Cody twitched. End her. Nervous, Cody? Adriana taunted. Afraid someone stands up? Sutter's boot lifted. Fractional shift toward the argument. Alicia felt the cuff's notch twisted, click, open. Your problem is you expect fear. Adriana kept him hooked. People fold. We don't. Crane's lip curled. You should. Because you've a gun? Drunk friends. Adriana's eyes burned. That's weakness. Crane roared, swinging the pistol like a club. She dropped. It hissed past. Alicia surged up, elbowed Sutter's gut. Wind left him. Cody lunged. Adriana swept his ankle. Skull cracked concrete. Crane re-aimed, but Alicia's palm snapped his wrist. The gun skittered into dark. You! He started. Adriana's fist shut his jaw. Sutter staggered up, charging, but training took the floor. Alicia slid left. Adriana right. Sutter's haymaker cut wind. Alicia seized his arm. Hip through him, he hit hard, breath blasting. Cody crawled, grabbed a baton, swung viciously. Adriana forearm blocked, teeth gritted, then kneed his groin. He collapsed, wheezing. Crane bull rushed. They slipped. Precise shots punished throat, solar plexus, kidney. Not so tough without steel, Adriana said, ducking another wild swing. Sutter grabbed Alicia from behind. Her head snapped back, nose crunched. She spun, kneed ribs. Cody fumbled pepper spray. Adriana's kick sent it skittering. Her cross dropped him cold. Crane clipped Alicia's shoulder. She rolled through. Wheel kicked his temple. Stagger. Sutter yanked a backup pistol. Adriana trapped his wrist, twisted. Bone popped. Screams ricocheted under tin rafters. Through it, the sisters moved like choreography. Anticipation, cover, finish. Crane lunged clumsily. Alicia slid. He slammed a support beam with a gonging thud and dropped to knees woozy. Cody whimpered, half propped. Sutter cradled a ruined wrist, moaning. Alicia plucked Crane's cuffs off his belt, snapped them on his wrists, metal biting. How's helpless feel? She asked, ice cold. Adriana stood over him. Checkmate. Blood trickled above Crane's eye. Power drained from his posture. Moments ago, swagger. Now, a kneeling wreck in filth. Predator wearing prey. Adriana dug a palm-sized camera from her boot. Jury-rigged, overlooked. A red LED winked to life. Crane squinted. What's that? Your booth, Adriana said, angling lens to frame all three. Everything beams live to federal servers. And everywhere. Bluff, Crane spat. Adriana flashed a mirrored screen showing a spinning viewer count. Thousands watching, she said. Cody's eyes went white. He lunged. Dizziness flattened him. Turn it off, he gasped. Why? Alicia asked sweetly. Worried the world sees you kidnap women and threaten murder? Sutter rocked, whispering, You can't prove. We can, Adriana cut in. Your GPS. This warehouse's dead camera still logs motion. And now, live. Alicia stepped behind Crane. Tell them, she said softly. Tell them the others, the planted evidence, the families you broke. Sweat pearled Crane's brow. Don't know. Maria Ruiz, Adriana shot back. You salted her trunk before deporting her. Kids left crying. James Wallace, framed freshman you paraded as a thug. Lies, Crane hissed. Tonight? Alicia pressed. Why arrest us? Because we broke laws or because we refused your hands? Across town, Morales watched the stream grow like a storm. She blasted links across platforms, pinged newsrooms, seeded hashtags. Years of quiet documentation pivoted to a public reckoning. Think you're special? Crane snapped at the lens, drunk, loosening his jaw. March in with federal shields, thinking you change our ground? This is how it's always been, how it should be. Define should, Adriana prompted. Keeping people in place, he barked. These blocks were calm before their kind got uppity, started demanding respect. Cody hissed, Shut up! But Crane barreled on. You know how many we've put away? Plant a little here, rough a little there. They learn who runs it. On Morales' monitors, viewership spiked. Local stations picked up, then national. A tag roared alive. She sent anonymized tips, dead drop inboxes lighting like runway strobes. Tell them quotas, Alicia said. Tell them targeted maps. Someone has to keep those blocks clean, Crane growled. Chief knows. The department knows. Hell, your precious bureau knows. Why do you think your supervisor tipped us? You were calling. Adriana's eyes sharpened. So you admit Keen's colluding? Too late, Crane saw the pit. Rage twisted his features. You set me up, he screamed, thrashing. Tricked me. No, Adriana said calmly. You walked yourself. Warehouse doors blew inward. FBI tactical swept in, state troopers on their heels. Morales' routing had reached the right ears at speed. All lies, Crane howled as agents encircled. They jumped us. They're the criminals. But the stream's receipts were merciless. Threats, confessions, slurs. Millions watched his authority molt into paranoia. Randall Crane, a senior agent intoned, you're under arrest. Civil rights violations, kidnapping, conspiracy? Zip ties snapped tight. You can't do this. I'm the police, Crane spat. Not anymore, Alicia said, steady. Adriana kept the camera locked. Across the web, comments, stitches, mirrors exploded. A hydra of public record. At HQ, spin doctors scrambled. The feed outran every attempt to smother it. Morning sun cut hard angles as federal SUVs invaded town arteries. News vans stacked along sidewalks. Booms and lenses hunted live angles. Inside his office, Chief Hale watched through blinds, phone vibrating nonstop. Press, City Hall, donors, all wanting absolution he couldn't mint. The door burst. Federal jackets flooded the room. Chief Warren Hale, the lead agent said, level as a ledger. You're under arrest. Conspiracy, obstruction, civil rights crimes. Hale kept a marble face. His hands trembled. Cameras harvested every frame of his walk of shame. Officers who once flinched now stared at desks or greeted investigators with suddenly loose tongues. Across the field office, Assistant Director Robert Keen's fortress caved too. Internal Affairs boxed plaques and frames. 25 years, he muttered, undone by 2 agents. Undone by your choices, an IA captain said, dropping a thick packet. Counts for conspiracy, obstruction, abuse of authority. You shielded predators. For years. Outside, cameras rolled as Keen was let out, tie slack, shoulders smaller. Loyalty to power had left him unclaimed. At county lockup, Crane, Sutter, and Cody traded blues for orange. Booking flashed Crane's rants on loop, his drunken boasts metastasized into a national emblem of rot. My life's over, Cody whimpered. The guard didn't blink. Should have thought before kidnapping federal agents. Sutter sat cradling a cast, quiet for once, reality calcifying. Power bled out of their story, now that they were docket numbers waiting on justice's slow gears. Federal teams tore through records, old mistakes aligned into intent. Outside, a vigil swelled into a march, then into a roar. Folks who'd swallowed fear for years found volume. No more, they chanted. Brooks' sisters showed the way. Mrs. Wallace, mother of the framed student, spoke into cameras, tears bright. My son lost 3 years to their lies, she said. Today, truth breathes. Judge Wilkes addressed the crowd, voice carrying. I saw it from the bench, was threatened quiet. The Brooks sisters stood when many couldn't. Louise Barr, reduced to ash, was applauded for stubborn courage. Morales turned in her badge at the steps. I won't prop corruption, she told microphones. We rebuild with oversight and light. The crowd parted as Adriana and Alicia emerged from a federal briefing. They wore the same shorts and tops from the bar, bruises visible, backs straight, signs with their names bobbed. Phones rose like a tide. Faces mattered most, hopeful, vindicated. When they cornered us, Adriana said into the square, voice steady, they picked women they assumed were easy prey. They were wrong. Alicia's words braided in. This isn't just our story. It's every person they crushed, every voice caged, every truth buried. Noise surged. Elders cried. Teens lifted fists. Together, the twins stepped down into the crowd. Hands reached to touch, thank, confess. Mrs. Wallace hugged them. You gave us our dignity back. The sisters listened more than spoke. They'd kicked the door. The community's chorus pushed it open wider behind them. Indictments multiplied. Resignation letters followed. 3 weeks on, the community hall throbbed with electric purpose. Every chair filled. Latecomers lined walls. Dusty panes poured amber light over faces. Maya, bruises faded, fire undimmed, took the podium. Tomorrow the full investigation runs, she said. 6 months, hundreds of interviews, thousands of documents. It doesn't end with Crane and his crew, she continued. We mapped a 3-decade network. Judges who blinked, prosecutors who buried, politicians who profited. Her gaze moved gently. But this is about you, the mothers who lost sons, owners shaken down, witnesses threatened quiet. Your voices are finally in print. Judge Wilkes rose, still commanding. 30 years I watched good people crushed, he said. Every pushback brought threats. Those days end now. Hale's web is exposed. Cases reopen. Applause thundered. Mrs. Wallace lifted a reinstated acceptance letter. Her boy cleared and returning to school. Morales, now with a federal task force, shared updates. 17 officers indicted so far, she reported. Civil Rights Division will keep a permanent desk here. Department rebuilds with community oversight. Luis, pouring from a temporary bar trailer, told of the night that began it all. They thought it'd be another quiet abuse, he said. Instead, it became their undoing. Adriana and Alicia entered from the back. Greetings swelled. Respect met them, not fear. Adriana set her badge on the lectern, glinting. We went for a quiet drink, she said, voice carrying. What happened to us had happened to many. Difference was, we had training and a platform. She scanned faces. Justice is worked for, daily. Sometimes it's court filings, she said. Sometimes it's a camera. Sometimes it's the courage to say enough. Alicia stepped beside her. They believed their shields made them untouchable, she said. They were wrong. No one sits above law. No one stands beneath justice. Applause rose, whole rows standing, decades spanning. Maya returned, lifting advance copies of her expose. Tomorrow, the country learns what you already know, she said. Not just what was done here, how you fought back and reclaimed your voice. Wilkes's nod was solemn. This is punishment, yes, but also construction, a system that serves, a department that protects. The meeting softened into clusters, people swapping stories and plans. The sisters stood together watching. They'd cracked the dam. The current was the community's. Outside, the street lay quiet, peaceful, not cowed. Side by side, they stepped into night. Behind them, the old engine of fear rattled inside cells. The work would never truly end. But here, silence had been replaced by something sturdier. Neighbors waved, lingered. Porch lights glowed like small promises. The sisters walked, breathing air that didn't taste like threat. Tomorrow would bring more testimony, more cases reopened, more names to clear. They were ready. And when someone asked how it finally broke, people would say, a bartender hid cameras, a young cop refused to look away, a retired judge kept receipts, a reporter bled and kept writing, and 2 sisters refused to bow. The town had learned what power fears most, eyes wide open, standing together. Reporters kept asking the same question, what comes after the takedowns? Adriana, a shade older than she looked, answered plainly, structures, not headlines. Alicia added, accountability that outlives outrage. They met that afternoon with church leaders, public defenders, and high school counselors, sketching a blueprint where prevention, not punishment, carried the budget's weight. Morales briefed them on the federal task force's first wave, case audits, evidence locker forensics, tech dives into missing footage. Judge Wilkes arranged a standing clinic night, free expungements, petition drafting, appeal consultations. Maya coordinated a whistleblower pipeline with burner numbers and mirrored drives. The community showed up, sleeves rolled, names ready. At the hospital, Maya dictated lines between pain meds, voice gravelly but steady. Facts before adjectives, she reminded her editor. Receipts first, then righteous. The nurse tightened her sling. Maya winced and kept talking. She had a list of 10 families to call personally, promising they'd read the truth with breakfast tomorrow. Luis rented a food truck until he could rebuild. He poured coffee into paper cups, stamped with a small camera icon. For the ones who never got filmed, he said, handing drinks to marchers. People slipped donations into a jar labeled repairs and retainers. He saved every receipt, learned to love spreadsheets. Keene's arraignment drew a hush outside the courthouse, anger tempered by complicated grief. Some remembered a younger supervisor who'd once done right. Adriana stood across the street, jaw tight. Rot doesn't appear overnight, Alicia murmured. It grows around your comfort. They turned away, choosing work over spectacle, paper over schadenfreude. A church basement became logistics central. Whiteboards mapped tasks, body cam policy reform, diversion programs, trauma counseling, jury pool education. A teen crew built an open source database of historic stops and seizures, cross referenced against property records. Patterns emerged like bruises. This isn't just scandal, Maya texted. It's an atlas. Wilkes read affidavits until his eyes burned, annotating margins with calm precision. Not every wrong becomes a charge, he told a mother, but every harm deserves remedy. He taught volunteers to separate fury from filings, to translate stories into timelines. We can be angry, he said. We also must be exact. The school gym filled for a town hall. No podium, just a circle. People told stories, sometimes halting, sometimes flame raw. Adriana kept notes. Alicia watched faces, cataloging nods, flinches, sudden relief. When a former officer stood to apologize, silence throbbed. Start with cooperation, Adriana said gently. Then testify. Then keep showing up. Federal analysts pulled old radio logs. Timestamps matched Luis's deleted nights. A clerk, hands shaking, turned over a keycard copy drawer he'd hidden for years. Morales photographed everything like a catechism. If it isn't documented, it didn't happen, she recited, pinning labels. They filled bankers' boxes until the dolly wheels squeaked. The county board met in emergency session. Budgets bled red ink into blue needs. Less armored trucks, more addiction beds, a nurse said. Fewer lobby dinners, more youth jobs, a coach added. A motion for civilian oversight passed by a hair. A second motion for independent forensic audits cleared easily, surprising everyone. Night patrols moved differently. Windows down, cameras on, supervisors visible. People watched like they were learning to trust their own porches again. Adriana and Alicia walked block by block, listening more than speaking. At a corner store, the owner unfolded a folded paper, old complaint stamped received, never processed. Alicia sighed, then scanned it. Maya's article dropped at dawn, tight, relentless, merciless with detail. Screens lit kitchen tables and bus stops. She named donors, dates, lunch receipts, judge chambers, and backroom jokes, word for word. Her closing paragraph belonged to the town. They were not voiceless. They were unheard. Subscriptions spiked. Lawsuits budded like spring. Hale tried a press statement, measured, lawyered, sorry for your experience. A question about quota maps rattled him. A second about civil forfeiture pipelines broke whatever composure remained. No further comments, he mumbled into microphones, a man finally narrating his limits. Someone from the crowd asked softly, who do we apologize to first? In the federal garage, boxes glided on rollers toward scanners. A tech flagged a thumb drive labeled BBQ Pics. Inside, edited arrest forms, tidy handwriting linking names to open door judges. They wrote the playbook like a picnic list, Morales said bitterly. Alicia breathed slow, pressed record, and read each line aloud for the log. A mural began on a cinder block wall, portraits of those exonerated blank spaces for those still inside. Kids dipped brushes into sunrise hues. Adriana painted outlines after hours, imperfect but steady. We'll add names as cases move, the artist said, and stars for every policy changed. The wall lengthened like a promise. At Wilkes's kitchen table, coffee steamed over depositions. We'll meet fear with ritual, he said. Witness prep scripts, courthouse maps drawn like treasure charts, water bottles labeled with hearing times. You don't walk into Powers Building lost, he smiled at Alicia. You make it your hallway by practice. Luis reopened under a temporary awning beside the rubble. First song on the little speaker, something old and forgiving. He plated empanadas, taped a handwritten code of conduct by the register, and kept the new cameras obvious. No secrets this time, he told a customer. Just receipts and daylight and good coffee. Adriana visited Maya with flowers and notes from readers. Brave doesn't heal ribs faster, Maya joked, wincing, but it helps. She insisted on editing a sidebar from bed, resources, hotlines, pro bono clinics, a guide to request body cam footage. Stories change policy, she said. Instructions change outcomes. We print both. The state AG arrived, sleeves rolled, voice surgical. Old consent decrees failed, she said. This one won't. She promised quarterly public dashboards, surprise audits, decertification tracking, demographic breakdowns of stops, and a whistleblower shield with teeth. Metrics are not mercy, she added, but they keep doors from quietly closing. A counselor set up trauma circles, separate groups for mothers, teenagers, returned citizens, and spouses. Adriana sat in a back chair, uninvited but welcomed. When an older man whispered, he still flinched at kitchen shadows. She wrote, light timers, window film, neighbor call tree. Solutions stacked beside stories until both weighed equal. Weekends, Alicia taught Know Your Rights inside the gym, role plays, script cards, a pocket zine in 2 languages. She coached posture, tone, breath. Calm isn't capitulation, she told a room of cousins. It's strategy. A grandmother raised a hand. What about anger? Alicia nodded. We keep it. We funnel it. We choose where it lands. The public defender's office hired 3 more investigators with redirected funds. One, a former journalist, found a closet of old tapes mislabeled maintenance. The whirring machines coughed up nights that shouldn't exist. They kept trophies, he whispered. We'll turn them into timelines. Adriana touched the box like a reliquary. Keene flipped quietly, then loudly. His statement detailed donor dinners, Sunday calls with Hale, a judge's joke about troublesome twins. The plea deal required training modules filmed with his face, how power corrodes, how shortcuts calcify. Consequence isn't cancel, Wilkes said. It's curriculum. The town watched, arms crossed, considering. Crane's arraignment featured no swagger, just a man smaller than his uniform remembered. The courtroom smelled like pine sol and reckoning. He tried to catch Adriana's eye. She looked past him, toward a teenage boy gripping his mother's hand. We don't lock eyes with weather, she told Alicia later. We build roofs. A grant landed. Federal, competitive, unexpected. It paid for a summer of paid internships, data entry, archival scanning, court watching, mural assistance, and a neighborhood repair corps that fixed porches damaged during raids. The first check funded a youth stipend. A boy bought tools. A girl bought a used laptop and built a case tracker. The old community hall got new lights and a repaired sound system. On movie night, they screened documentaries about other towns' fights, pausing to compare notes. We're not the first, Alicia said. We're not the last. The crowd nodded, borrowing tactics, discarding ones that didn't fit, writing their own margin notes. Adriana visited a grave at dusk, her father's. We didn't fix it all, she said, palm on warm stone, but we stopped the bleeding. A breeze lifted oak leaves. She imagined him younger, laughing about stubborn daughters. On the way back, she grabbed tacos for the war room. The cashier added extra salsa, unasked. Protest signs morphed into policy cheat sheets taped beside ATMs and bus stops. How to file complaints, how to demand reports, how to FOA politely and persistently. A librarian created a justice desk between mystery and memoir. Do you have the form for? A man began. 3 copies, the clerk said, smiling. Stapled. A local paper ran an editorial titled, "We Were Late." It apologized for soft focus profiles of tough on crime award banquets and promised an ombudsman in perpetuity. Maya clipped it, circled the pledge in red, and pinned it above her desk. "We'll hold them kindly accountable," she told her reflection, adjusting a brace. New recruits shadowed Morales on patrol. She showed them where to park without blocking sight lines, how to introduce themselves without snatching dignity. "Be recorded like it's training footage," she said, "because it is." They learned names of porch dogs and kids' nicknames. It felt small and huge at once, like relearning a language. A restitution fund launched for those harmed, managed by a board of clergy, social workers, and people formerly targeted. First grants paid for therapy, expungement fees, a locksmith, an HVAC repair, and 3 months' rent for a mother who'd lost a job after a bogus charge. The board published every dollar spent online. Wilkes swore in the inaugural Civilian Review Council. Teachers, welders, a nurse, a student journalist, a retired mail carrier. They took an oath, not to punish, but to pry. "We will measure what matters," the chair said, "and say the quiet parts into the microphone." A toddler clapped. Laughter loosened shoulders. Adriana finally slept 8 hours, then dreamt of sirens. She woke before dawn, made coffee, answered emails from strangers in distant towns asking how to start. She wrote back template bones, then personalized them. Begin with your librarians. Map your courtroom. Find a Wilkes in your county. Teach breathwork. Bring water. Always. Alicia drove Maya to physical therapy, then looped past the mural. 3 new names glowed. 2 more stars added. She thought of the warehouse's stink, the click of cuffs she'd placed on Crane. She didn't feel triumph. She felt maintenance, a discipline. "Keep the bolts tight," she texted Adriana. Rot looks for looseness. The first reopened case ended with a judge's apology, an expungement, and a hug that the bailiff pretended not to see. Outside, the man inhaled like he'd forgotten how. "What now?" he asked. "You go bowling," Adriana said, half smiling. "You pay late fees, you vote, you sit on juries, you live." He nodded, weeping. A law school clinic arrived, all optimism and color-coded binders. They paired with public defenders and the mural artist to host record repair fairs. A barber shop offered free cuts for court days. A bakery donated croissants with little gavel doodles. "Rituals matter," Alicia said, biting flaky pastry. "They tell people they're expected." Crane's recorded rants played in ethics training statewide. In a classroom, new cadets shifted in chairs as the audio spewed. "You will never be this," an instructor said flatly. "If you become a little of this, you're gone." Morales watched from the back, arms crossed, jaw softening by degrees she could feel. Keen's modules launched online. He didn't ask forgiveness, he diagrammed failures. "Here's where I rationalized," he said, finger on a chart. "Here's the phone call I shouldn't have taken." Comments were brutal, thoughtful, mixed. Wilkes called it useful contrition. Adriana called it a field guide to temptation. Alicia called it homework. The town held a night market, vendors under string lights, teenagers playing brass, elders dancing in lawn chairs. Luis worked the grill. Maya signed magazines. Morales won a goldfish and gave it to a shy kid. The sisters sat on the curb, shoes off, watching Joy practice staying. "We guard this," Alicia said. "Hard." A distant city sent an invitation. "Come teach what you learned." Adriana packed slides. Alicia packed stories. "We aren't a miracle," Adriana told the auditorium. "We're a manual." She listed steps in permanent marker: document, amplify, litigate, memorialize, reform, repeat. She left room for local edits. "You write your own margins," she said. Back home, the mural's final panel unveiled a constellation, each star labeled with a policy win: oversight, audits, training, transparency, restitution, youth jobs. Kids pointed at their favorite stars. arguing about which shone brightest. All of them, the artist laughed. Brightness is additive. The crowd applauded like church. On the courthouse steps, a man Alicia once arrested under supervision years ago approached. You treated me human, he said. I didn't forget. He handed her a keychain stamped with an address, his new shop. Come by, he grinned. Don't rate it. She laughed, then cried in the car, quiet and relieved. A podcast asked for a soundbite. Maya sent 3 minutes instead. No music, just breath and sentences that didn't need polish. I believed in institutions, she said. I still do, when people inside choose light every day. It trended by afternoon, surprising no one nearby. The town had learned to like receipts more than slogans. The Civilian Review Council published its first report. Plain words, crisp graphs, sharp recommendations. We reject performative transparency, the introduction read. We prefer utility. They recommended a public complaint tracker and quarterly community grading sessions. The sheriff nodded. Grade me in public, he said. If I'm thin-skinned, I'll grow thicker. Adriana's mother finally spoke at a circle, voice steady as a hymn. She described daughters who once built forts from blankets and library books. They didn't become brave, she said. They exercised it. Afterward, she pressed rosary beads into Maya's hand. For when your pain wakes you, she said. Maya exhaled, grateful. A letter arrived from a federal inmate who'd watched the live stream on a contraband phone. I cried, it read, not because he fell, because someone showed the fall was possible. Alicia wrote back through official channels, practical and kind, including resources for reentry and a note. We're working your county next. Rain finally came, heavy, forgiving. It rinsed chalk from sidewalks and left everything smelling temporary and clean. Adriana stood under the awning of the rebuilt bar, listening to gutters. Luis handed over a mug. Soft open Tuesday, he said. We'll need a playlist. Start with something hopeful, she said, but not naive. A teenager asked Alicia if courage meant never shaking. Courage, Alicia said, is tremble and move. The girl nodded like she'd been handed a password. She later stood at the mic during open forum, voice quivering, and read a statement about consent decree clauses. People applauded, not because she didn't shake, because she did. The state AG returned with early numbers. Stops down, violent crime unchanged, trust metrics inching upward. It's early, she cautioned, but signal exists. Wilkes squeezed her shoulder. We'll hold you to the slope. She smiled. Please do. The crowd laughed, a sound like a gate unlock clicking open. Sunset bled into indigo. The sisters walked past the mural, counting stars. We won't measure this by trophies, Adriana said. We'll measure it by mornings that don't feel like bracing. Alicia slipped an arm through hers. By kids who don't know the old dread. They turned toward home lights, easy in their steps. On their porch, crickets sang, steady as a metronome. Adriana placed her badge on the table, not as a shield, but as a tool among others. Pen, notebook, flashlight. Alicia leaned back, eyes on a sky thick with ordinary stars. We keep watch, she said, not for fear, for stewardship. The night answered with quiet. Lesson 1. Dignity doesn't retire. Many of us remember when standing your ground meant looking a bully in the eye and refusing to shrink. That's what the Brooks sisters did in that bar. Two black women in their mid-30s, calm as church on Sunday, even while off-duty officers tried to grind them down with slurs, cuffs, and humiliation. If you've lived long enough to see lunch counters desegregated and then watched rights get chipped away again, you know this scene isn't new. It's a rerun with better lighting. The lesson is simple and hard. Dignity isn't granted by a badge or a title. It's carried in your spine. Adriana and Alicia didn't posture. They measured each breath, waited for their hinge, and moved. Courage at our age looks the same. Steady voice, clear boundary, and a refusal to let anyone tell you who you are. Lesson 2. Receipts beat rumors. Time teaches us that truth without proof gets steamrolled. What turned a dirty night into a turning point wasn't thunderous speeches, it was receipts, a bartender's hidden cameras, a young officer's conscience, an old judge's paper trail, a reporter's bruised persistence, and the sister's micro-mic catching confessions no one could pretty up. Older Americans know the power of a paper copy, a date, a signature. When the machine denied, the evidence spoke. And when those clips went public, the country finally listened. The takeaway for all of us: keep records, share them safely, and back each other up. Memory fades, documentation doesn't. Lesson 3: build structures, not just headlines. Takedowns feel good. Systems keep people safe. After Crane, Hale, and their circle fell, the real work began: audits, reopened cases, civilian oversight, body cam rules with teeth, youth jobs, trauma care, and a mural that grew 1 star per policy win. That's how a town learns to breathe again, by turning outrage into checklists and timelines. If you've ever planned a church fundraiser or rebuilt after a storm, you know the drill. Assign the job, name the deadline, publish the budget, and show up next week anyway. The sisters called it maintenance. We might call it stewardship. Either way, it's the part that outlives the news cycle and protects our grandkids long after the cameras go home. Friends, you've heard how 2 sisters, a bartender, a young cop, a retired judge, and a relentless reporter, turned one brutal night into lasting reform. Now I want your wisdom. In your years, where have you seen dignity and receipts change the outcome? A workplace dispute, a school board meeting, a town vote. What would you add to this community playbook so the fixes outlast the headlines? Share your story in the comments. If this resonated, please like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss the next practical, hope-filled lesson.